All right, come on in, sit down. I've got a friend who was a deacon in the church, and he drove a school bus. And one Sunday morning, he got up to start the worship service, and some people were still milling around a little bit. And he said, sit down. And the whole crowd busted out laughing. But anyway, he was a school bus driver. Well, I'm glad to be here today, and Marty and Lisa were supposed to come, but a few weeks ago we were together and I was going over my schedule up into the new year and stuff, and when I got to November 21, he said, Dad, I'm preaching that Sunday. And so I tried to tell him, now, let's work on these schedules together a little bit when you are going with me and when you're not and all of that kind of stuff. But when a kid gets 63, he thinks he's his own boss and stuff and kind of does what he wants to do. But anyway, he sent me a note last night and said to tell you that they regretted they wouldn't be able to be here and they would hope to come sometime soon and be here again. And I'm glad to be here today. I was telling somebody back there that I know we've been coming and reporting on our work for 31 years. We're in our 31st year, started our 32nd year of work in Romania, full-time evangelism, 34 years. So I know we've been coming here that long. And it's such a joy, always. I talked last night, David, what's his name, lives in Jonesboro. David Gibson and I were talking, and we were talking about congregations and talking about this one in particular. There are a lot of congregations in small towns like this all over the country that are closing their doors, and you're alive and working and doing good work, not only here but in other places as well. I know my time is limited, but I'm going to tell you this too. My Desi started dating a guy in Bentonville, Arkansas. Great-grandpa wants to know about this guy she's dating. I will know about him, whoever he is. And so I found a guy that I knew but have never met in Bentonville, and he's a fireman, and his name is Ty Brunkhart. And we began visiting, and he told me he went to Honduras, and I said, you know anybody from Black Oak, Arkansas? And he said, well, yeah. And so he goes to Honduras and all of this. But it's through him. He is a fireman, and he works with a fireman who is dating my Desi. And so he's having a Bible study with this boy. His name is Quinn. And I had a chance to visit with Ty a good long time. And he knows some of you know him. His grandfather is a elder in the church where Gerald grew up. So now I've got a Bible study with him and set it up yesterday morning on the way up here, and I'm going to be studying with Desi's friend. And I hope that all works out well. It's good to be here today. I want to tell you about some of the work that we've done since we saw you last. Now Marty made this, and I don't know what all is on it. I think I do, but he changed it a few days ago. There's a picture of the church includes just recently when we were there. And all of them had gathered out of the building. We have done a lot of work on the building, completely almost built a new building and a place for the Ventilas to live. It's wonderful. They are happier than they've ever been with a place to live. So that's them. There's Dragos and Serena, whom you know, and their 3 girls. The girls are all growing up. Ariana is 14, and Ruth is 12, and the little one, Elisa, is 9. It's a beautiful, beautiful family. You know that Dragos, his wife Serena, had surgery before they came here back last spring and summer, and she's doing really well. I talked to her this week one day, and she wasn't feeling good, and the doctor told her it would be 3 years for her to really regain her strength and so forth. Well, it's been 8 months, and she wants to feel like she's supposed to feel 3 years from now, so she'll learn. Here's the baptism of a lady that we are all excited about. Her name is Mara. She was baptized into Christ a few months ago after going through a lot of hardship with her family. They didn't want her to join that sect, that cult, they called it, and so forth. Mara was very faithful in attending the services of the church and studying her Bible and all of this. Just a wonderful, wonderful lady. And finally, one day she decided that in spite of what her family had told her, she owned her apartment. They lived with her, and they had threatened to kick her out of her apartment if she joined that sect. Well, she finally was baptized into Christ. We didn't put it on Facebook and all of that because hopefully her family would not see the pictures and so forth. And so you can't see Mara's face very well in that picture. Here's a picture of a Ukrainian who is being baptized. I studied with them for a long time, the last couple of years. Nikolai and Tatiana are their names. And they had lost everything they had. They went back to Ukraine several months ago to see if they could find anything left of their home and so forth. Is all gone. And so they came on back to Cluj, trying to build a life and studying with us. I had some wonderful, wonderful Bible studies with them last year. And I have a little old lesson that even Tim could preach. I call it safe, lost, and saved. When you're born, you're safe. When a baby passes from this life, that baby will live forever in heaven. There's no question about it, in spite of what the Orthodox Church or the Catholic Church, anybody else says. When a baby's born, it's in a state of innocence, and when it dies in that state of innocence, it's saved, no doubt about it. But if it lives on, knows the difference between right and wrong, becomes aware of sin, that baby is lost. But you don't have to remain lost. You can hear and believe and obey the gospel of Christ and be saved. Now, it takes me a little longer to teach that lesson to people, but it's so simple, isn't it? It's scriptural, it's Bible, it's what the Bible says about our being lost and then being saved. And so I taught them this lesson, and Nikolai sat there with tears in her eyes. No, that's Tatiana. Her husband's name is Nikolai, and she sat there with tears in her eyes. So when Marty went back in August of this year, on Sunday morning, he was waiting for them. And when Nikolai and Tatiana came in, the first thing he said is, "Are you coming this week for Bible study?" And she said, "No." And that kind of knocked his props over. But before he got feeling too bad, she said, "We're coming tomorrow to be baptized." And in the building process, our baptistry was all unhooked and so forth. And I always hated this. You know, I've seen baptistries that had rakes and shovels and wheelbars and everything else in them, and yet we preach baptism, and you need to do it right now and all that. But anyway, our baptistry was all out in the backyard. So they went and bought a $12 swimming pool, and this is a picture of Nikolai being baptized into Christ in August of this year. A wonderful, wonderful man, and how grateful we are that they are now Christians. They came as a result of the war in Ukraine. They had to leave their home and so forth and came, and now they're New Testament Christians, very faithful people. That's a picture of Tatiana, his wife. She's about to be baptized in that swimming pool. I don't know if we looked that baptistry back up or not. For $11, you can get a swimming pool and baptize people all day and so forth. But that's a picture of Tatiana being baptized into Christ. Wonderful people. And they told Marty that they had decided one day they were going down the road on a bus, and Tatiana said, "I'm going to be baptized." And he said, "Well, I am too. I've been waiting on you." I've known of that happening in our life through the years, one person waiting on another. So now they are both New Testament Christians. This is the Lads to Leaders program that David Gibson supports each year. I think there's 88 people in that group. When they come together and study the Bible, they do a lot of work for several months prior to the actual getting together for the Lads to Leaders program. There are people that come from almost all the congregations in Romania. In Romania, it's kind of a sad thing. It is to me heartbreaking, but we've gone through some things there similar to what we go through here in the U.S. with congregations ceasing to meet. And I could tell you of congregations all over the country that are very, very close or have already stopped meeting as a result of, for various reasons. And so I think now there are about 15 congregations of the church, and people come from almost all of the congregations together, spend a week together in the Lads to Leaders program. And it's the only Lads to Leaders program in Europe. Some guy in Nashville, Tennessee, I think is the guy that started Lads to Leaders. And when he heard that one was going on in Romania, he wanted to know what they were doing, if they were doing it like it's done in the U.S. So he went to Romania. I think his name is Roy Johnson. Brother Johnson went over and was very, very encouraged to know that the program had spread. We hope someday to see it go to other places in Europe. There's a children's Bible class and we built a small new building out behind the place where the church meets and where the Ventilas live. We needed another classroom, and so we built one that's completely separate from the building. And this is one of the children's classes that goes on. We're still doing a lot of work emphasizing the importance of teaching children in Bible classes. Well, I'll tell you later. Here's Camp Hope. Marty and a brother from Ovilla, Texas, Michael Elrod, went to Cluj, and they went back up in the mountains to a resort area and had Bible camp. Camp Hope has been going on for several years, and again, Young people from about all the congregations in Romania gathered for Camp Hope. And this year, as we've already told you, they had wanted the emphasis to be on studying about moral issues, transgenderism, homosexuality, alcoholism, things of that kind. And so Marty and Michael Elrod and another brother who lives in Romania, but he's an American, Bubba Cook, they taught all of the classes, and they were amazed at some of the studies that they had outside of the classes with young people who had been faced with this in the public schools and in the places where they work. And so, again, just like us, we're having problems with the same thing. Next year, they have already set the theme concerning the plan of salvation. One of the differences, because of infant baptism that we've had to deal with so long, infant baptism is a great practice in the Orthodox Church and some of the other denominations. And so we teach what the Bible teaches about baptism. So some of our brethren have gone a little bit on the other end. They believe that you should be about 20 years of age before you're baptized. I've run into people here in the States who say that young people are not accountable until they're 20 because of some things they've read in the Old Testament about a man being recognized as a boy being recognized as a man when he's 20 years old. Well, that's all not right. So we have some young people, a lot of them, that are interested in wrestling with what to do. Ariana is 14 years of age, and she's not a Christian, but she's begun to ask questions and study, and she's been told by at least one of the preachers in Romania that you're too young. So Marty met with Ariana and studied with her quite a while, and he said that she is not ready at this point. But it's because of a lot of things that have been drilled into them. So in the camp in 2026, they're going to be studying about the plan of salvation. What and when and so forth should these young people be baptized? We've got a whole bunch of them who need to obey the gospel, and hopefully they will in the coming near future. So that's what the theme is going to be next year. Northern Romanian Bible School, another program directed by David Gibson, is a wonderful program of intense Bible study. They study the Bible for a week, and I've told you about this before. They start at 9 o'clock in the morning, they take a break at 2:15 for lunch, and then they go back and study till 6 in the evening. They are very, very intense in their study of the Word of God. And that's a group of them there who are standing for prayer or dismissal, whichever it may be, of the Northern Romanian Bible School. We have that every year in September, and we have some great teachers that go. David Gibson and his wife Cindy both were there this year, as well as Greg Hogue, who also worships with the church at Grace Point in Jonesboro. They were the teachers in the Bible school this year. David was telling me last night that one of they have some sessions at night after the school sessions are over. And David was having one, and he decided to just open it up for questions and answers. And it never got done. It just went on and on and on. And one guy who's not a member of the church was in that group, and he kept asking questions and he was wrong. Some of the others would point out to him that he's wrong. And so he came to David later and he said, you know, I learned a lot tonight in this class, but I don't know if David will have the courage to do it again, such a deal. This is Dragos getting ready to go to Ukraine. He was in Ukraine week before last. He's made at least 3 trips since they were here in June. Back to Ukraine, he goes, well, he's made more than that because he goes once a month to carry supplies to the church in Ukraine. David is the guy that raises most of the money for that and continues to take supplies to the people. And they really, really need help. This is an evangelism campaign that we held in July, just after we were all here in June. We had been doing this for several years and then stopped doing it. This is how the church started in Romania. We would call it a gospel meeting. They call it a campaign, or they call it a seminar, or whatever they want, but to us, it's just a gospel meeting. And we had it in a building downtown overlooking the great big Roman Catholic church on the square in the center of Cluj. We could look out and see all of the town and so forth. We had posters all over the place. It was really a great thing, and we're going to do this 3 times in 2026, 27, and 28 with campaigns not only in Cluj, but in Sibiu, and Oradea, and Arad. So I'm really excited about this. When you go to making plans for 26 and 27 and 28, well, I don't know if I'll be there for all of them or not, but they're going to be done, Lord willing, and I'm so grateful for that. I preached one night on the church. And you know what I told them? There's just one. Just one. Of course, I preached a good sermon about the church, but there's just one, and it's not Catholic, and it's not Orthodox. It belongs to Jesus Christ who built it. And then Marty preached one, well, that's me preaching right there. Claudio Murtaza, a gospel preacher, is standing there translating for me. And so, don't I look happy for some reason there? I think I look almost grumpy, but I was preaching, about to at least. And this is something, this is the campaign team. We had 10 workers, and it was, I could talk for an hour about all of the things that we went through to get there. It was a long, hard trip because my son kind of didn't ask his dad for any help in making plans. What was supposed to be about a 24-hour trip turned into a 32-hour trip. And we had a woman on there, and she's in that picture. She's 5 months pregnant, and it just worried me to death, the whole campaign. I'd go to her and say, are you okay? And, yeah, I'm fine. Okay. So she had that baby 2 weeks ago, finally. But that's the campaign team right there, 10 of us. Here's Vacation Bible School. They had Vacation Bible School in the mornings, gospel meeting at night, Bible studies in the afternoon. So it was a very, very busy time, and that's one of the classes in Vacation Bible School. That's me preaching in the city of Pitești. I've got to hurry. The first place that we ever worked, my lady and I, was in Pitești, Romania. Harvey Starling kind of tricked me into going to Romania. I didn't intend to go. And when I got tricked into it, I meant to go one time and never go again. I fell in love. I'm in my 31st year of going to Romania. So this, a while back, I told Marty I'd like to go and kind of retrace our steps. starting with the first church we ever worked with. We helped establish this church in 1995. So we went back to Pitesh. I'm preaching, and that guy that's standing there translating for me was just a little boy. And on August the 9th, 2009, he walked up to me one day and he said, tomorrow I want to be baptized. That's Serena's younger brother. He's a wonderful gospel preacher. And he translated for me that day in Pitesh while I preached. But I got to go back to Pitesh. I went back to, I'm still in Pitesh here. See that little guy standing between me and Dragos? His name is John Akeem. He's one of the first converts to the Lord in the country of Romania. And he's 96 years old. I would not have believed that if I had not been told by him. But he's 96 years old, still very active in serving the Lord. Just a wonderful man. It was a pleasure to get to go to his house and visit that day after service. Here's a group of other Christians, most of them young, who were children, babies. Some of them went to my lady's first children's Bible class in 1995. And now they are very strong Christians in the Lord's church in Pitesh. There's the church building in the city of Craiova, the second church that we established in Romania. And then out of that and Pitesh, we have 7 congregations, and that light's on, and I don't care. Here's, I'm preaching, and we're translating into Romanian and then into Ukrainian. I've told you about that before, and it's quite a challenge, but it's a lot of fun too. Preaching the gospel 3 languages at the same time. It's a wonderful thing. Here's Marty and me with Nikolai and Tatiana, who this was before they had been baptized. This was after one of the studies that we had with them, so forth. Here we are having a study with 8 Ukrainians. This is the day before we left to come home in October. Had 8 Ukrainians, 7 of them not Christians. If I could have studied with them about 2 more hours, I believe we'd have baptized all 7 of them. But we had to come home. And so Dragos is continuing to study with them, and then Ivan, the Ukrainian preacher, has studies with them on Wednesday and Friday afternoons every week. Here's some of the building. That's the new kitchen that the kids have. They've never, for the first time in their life, they had a kitchen where they invited Marty and me to come, and all of us sit down and had a meal around the table in their kitchen. That's the first time that's ever happened. That's Dragos with some more working materials and so forth on the building. Whew, here's the plans for this year according to Marty. Lads to Leaders will be in April. Vacation Bible School in Cluj and Oradea in August. There'll be camp in September, Northern Romanian Bible School. October, evangelism campaign in Cluj and Sibiu. And so he's got a bunch of plans made. People ask me all the time, are you going to go back to Romania again? And I tell them God is in charge of my schedule. I've always made my schedule. God's in charge of that. If I feel as good as I do now, it comes spring, I'll probably go back to Romania. But that can all change, because you know what happened last Sunday. Because I told you last year at this same time, so I'm not going to tell you again. I'm done, finally.